Good morning and welcome to the What's Up News Network, being broadcast from Panama City Beach, Florida, the home of the world's most beautiful beaches, and only 323 miles south of Booger Hollow, Georgia, the center of the universe where the people are so good they have to hold on to the blackberry bushes to keep from being drawn into heaven. I am Jim Free with Jim Free Realty. Please click on the subscribe button just below the picture. Now for the Booger Hollow news. We're always proud of our Booger Hollow boys and girls when they make good. After 6 long years, James Bubba Smith graduates from Georgia Tech with a degree in textile engineering. He soon finds a CEO position in a textile plant in Lindale, Georgia, near his hometown of Booger Hollow. Bubba takes over at the struggling company and decides to get rid of all the slackers. Bubba knew many of the employees and wanted to make a good impression. On a tour of the plant, Bubba notices a guy leaning on a wall. He can't believe this guy would just stand around on the job. Bubba walks up to the guy leaning against the wall and asks, "What are you doing?" "I'm just waiting to get paid," responds the man. Furious, Bubba asks, "How much do you make a week?" A little surprised, the young fellow replies, "I make about $300 a week. Why?" Bubba quickly has the controller write a check, and Bubba hands the check to the guy made out to cash for $1,200 and says, "Here's 4 weeks' pay. Get out and don't come back." The man puts the check in his pocket and promptly walks out. Feeling good about himself, Bubba looks around the room and asks, "Does anyone want to tell me what just happened here?" From across the room comes a voice, "Yeah, you just tipped the pizza delivery guy $1,200. Well, I miss Booger Hollow, but I'm very blessed to live in Florida. I was in my late 50s when we purchased our first condo in Panama City Beach. When I wake in the morning, I can look out over the Gulf of Mexico, and in the evening I can see the beautiful sunsets. When I first moved to Florida, I enjoyed the months when the winter guests would arrive because they were mostly 15 or 20 years older than I was, so it made me feel young. That feeling was short-lived when the spring breakers would arrive and they would just say, "Get out of the way, old man." Now, at 80, I am older than most of the winter guests. Last week, I walked out on the balcony to watch the sunset, and there was a strong odor of being gay in the air, and I suddenly came to the realization that I live in a high-rise nursing home. Oh well, it's still nice. I checked the newspaper this morning, and my name was not in the obituary column. Well, there you go. In the national news, 5 years ago, I published the following letter. It was on February the 13th, 2018. And it was entitled, "Not the FBI I Love and Admire." Perhaps one of the greatest milestones in my 37-year law enforcement career came on December the 6th, 1973, when I graduated from the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia, and received the J. Edgar Hoover Award for Scholastic Excellence. I had the honor of meeting Clarence Kelly, the director of the FBI, Tom Jenkins, assistant director of the FBI, Robert Bork, the U.S. Attorney General, and Francis B. Mooney, Deputy Commissioner of Criminal Justice, New York Police Department, who was serving as president of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Director Hoover died in May of 1972, and Director Kelly was appointed in July of 1973. Inspector Jim Cotter was the director of the Academy. All these men are now dead, but they leave a legacy of having formed the greatest law enforcement agency in the world. The FBI Academy had the best law enforcement instructors in the world. My career in law enforcement was modeled by those instructors. I have worked with hundreds of agents and have found that most all of them lived up to the standards that are required and expected of FBI agents. I cannot say the same for the Department of Justice, that has always been very political. I am very disappointed in Director Jim Comey. Director Comey was a product of the DOJ, and it looks like he brought that leadership style with him. When he became director of the FBI, he surrounded himself with a leadership team that was very political. I believe Director Comey and his leadership team has caused great harm to this fine organization. I don't believe it is irreparable, because there are over 14,000 men and women that are trying to do the right thing and protect this great nation and deliver equal justice to all. Director Comey's management team does not represent the FBI that I love and admire. I had hoped that when President Trump appointed Chris Wray as director of the FBI that he would get the FBI back on the right track. I was wrong. Director Wray continued with business as usual. I thought when the FBI General Counsel James Baker, Director Comey, Assistant Director Andrew McCabe, and Special Agent Peter Strzok were exposed and forced to leave the FBI because they had spied on candidate Trump and continued after he became president, lied to the FISA court to obtain wiretap warrants, and promoted the Russian dossier after they knew that it was a product of the Hillary Clinton campaign. We now know that the roots of this cesspool of corruption runs much deeper. According to former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker, over the course of her 12-year-plus years of service, the FBI's trajectory transformed. On paper, the Bureau's mission remained the same, but its priorities and governing principles shifted dramatically. The FBI became politically weaponized, starting from the top of Washington and trickling down to the field offices. The American people have lost their trust in the FBI because of the actions of a relative few of the FBI employees. Nicole Parker is one of many former and current FBI agents who have come forward to say that the FBI has lost its way. Nicole Parker joined the FBI after witnessing the attack of the World Trade Center. Robert Mueller became the director in 2001 and remained in that position for 13 years. He was followed by James Comey, who served almost 4 years, and now Chris Wray has been in that position for 5 years. I believe the FBI began to run off the tracks under Robert Mueller's leadership. That has been over 20 years, and most of the FBI agents that were working in 2001 have retired or left the agency. James Baker landed a job with Twitter, and this gave the FBI an insider into social media. After Elon Musk purchased Twitter, we learned just how involved the FBI had become with social media, and how they and the Justice Department use the relationship to shape the messengers and the message coming out of social media, from COVID to the Hunter Biden laptop. Why do you suppose the FBI and Justice Department gave Twitter $3.5 million of taxpayers' money? ASAC Elvis Chan is the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the San Francisco office of the FBI. He is the supervisor of the cyber branch. His unit fed social media information that they knew was misinformation and met with those social media giants on a regular basis. The FBI had possession of the Hunter Biden laptop since December 2019. And they knew that it was not Russian disinformation, yet they continued to peddle it to the social media as Russian disinformation. It is obvious now that we have corruption in our government. The FBI and the Justice Department had their hand on the scale for some time. Equal justice for all is an absolute necessary for a free country. We now have a president that appears to be compromised, so we cannot expect any help out of the president or the attorney general. I believe the FBI will have to cleanse itself in order for this to happen. There will have to be large numbers of present and former employees demand changes, and if Director Chris Wray doesn't have the courage to return the Bureau to its mission, he needs to step aside. I know a lot of you might be concerned about all the evil that seems to be going on around us, but fear not, because that battle has already been fought and won. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places. That quote comes from Ephesians 6:12. Until we meet again, may God bless you, your family, and this great country that we live in.